I'm proud to be joined by my colleagues, Senator Durbin, Senator Wyden, Senator Stabenow, to talk about what's going on with health care. First, we heard a lot of talk about the states and governors. Just released was a letter, 10 governors, 5 Democrat, 5 Republican, opposed to Trumpcare 2, the so-called Graham-Cassidy bill, and more in favor of a bipartisan negotiation such as that Senator Alexander and Senator Murray are going forward with. Second, I just heard our Republican colleagues speak. There was a word missing: people, patients, care. All this stuff, Democrat, Republican, governors, Washington. How about how this affects people? Millions will lose coverage. No guarantee of pre-existing condition. And an end to Medicaid as we know it. Tens of millions of people could well lose coverage. People who desperately need essential services would lose it. Our Republican colleagues don't seem to care about how this affects the average American. That's why Trumpcare, the previous Trumpcare bills were so unpopular. That's why this bill is so unpopular. And that's why, despite all their efforts, they're struggling, because their own senators know that the public dislikes this bill. The latest version of Trumpcare may live under a new name, Graham-Cassidy, but no matter how many ways they try to dress it up, they try to hide it, it's even more dangerous and more reckless than the previous bill that was defeated. Simply put, Trumpcare is a sham. They're crafting it in the dark of night. To say one hearing on one day without a CBO score and only 2 witnesses against the bill, that's a hearing, that's a full airing of the bill? Come on. They're ashamed of this bill. They're afraid to find out what it actually does. And so we get another bill in the dark of night. So the process is awful. Our Republican colleagues, we've heard justice being blind. Our Republican colleagues should be walking around with blindfolds because they don't want to see what's in the bill they're being forced to vote for. With all the cuts to people, with all its unpopularity, with all the basic meanness in this bill. They don't want to go home and tell a mom who learns her daughter or son has cancer that an insurance company can make insurance unaffordable for them. No, they don't want that. They don't want to tell a middle-class family in the suburbs that mom or dad in the nursing home may no longer get coverage. They don't want to tell a 23-year-old young man who desperately needs opioid treatment that it may go away. This isn't simply making the decisions at the states. They make the cuts here in Washington that hurt average people and then tell the states to figure out who to cut. This is not a neutral bill that simply devolves power to the states. It's a bill to end Medicaid as we know it and let the governors do the dirty work. That is why 10 governors from the states of Colorado, Ohio, Alaska, Montana, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Louisiana, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Vermont, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, have said, don't do Trumpcare 2, don't do Graham-Cassidy. And just on the substance, according to the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities, it'll result in about $700 billion in cuts to health care by 2027. It would cause millions to lose coverage. Millions. It would radically restructure and deeply cut Medicaid. It would bring us back to the days when insurance companies could discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions. It would get rid of the consumer protections that gives Americans access to maternity care, substance abuse, prescription drugs. And it would throw the individual markets into chaos, resulting in 15 million people losing coverage. If they let the CBO do its work, if CBO weren't pressured to put out something that's just a few lines, this would all be told by CBO. And how do we know? Because similar bills in the past have been scored by CBO with similar provisions. They're afraid. They are afraid that the public will hate this bill. So they're trying to rush it through in the dark of night. We want, above all, a bill that protects average Americans, not slashes the health care they need. Whether the governor or Washington should try to do that, it's wrong. We want to work in a bipartisan process to make things better. We want the House, the President, Republican leadership to stop pressuring those who want to come up with a bipartisan solution to refrain from doing it. We can make this work in a bipartisan way. And the final thing I'd say is this. We have seen some very, very hopeful sprouts of bipartisanship in the last month. Going back to this Trumpcare 2, Graham-Cassidy would shut down that bipartisanship that America yearns for.